Hello all. Are you all able to log in? Yeah, okay. Some technology issues. Uh, yes, I think it is okay now. Yeah, thanks for being patient. Volume. Okay, I've increased the volume now. Okay, I think it's all clear now. Oh, oh, the problem is back. Yeah, just a minute. Should work up. Something is not right. Yeah. I think it's okay now. Yes, it's okay. Fine, let's get started. I'm sorry for the delay. Okay, let's start off now. So what I was discussing is that you need to have a format for discussing. Okay, we need to have a format for discussing. And the format I called as the four circles principle. In the four circle principles, we have economy, and around this, you have four circles around which your discussions can hover. Okay, so we have discussions at the individual level, discussions at the government policy level, discussions which include issues of global concerns and discussions around philosophy, around the philosophy and the principles. And this E, I said, like typical for economy issues, there are some facts, there are prospects, there are concerns, And in economy, I've talked about poverty and disparities. Poverty and disparities. So this is your format for economy topics. Now, if I go on from here, okay. Now we need to apply this. So I've discussed the facts. Now I'm moving on towards discussing the prospects and the concerns. So I'm starting off with what are the prospects? What are the prospects? And the prospects, I said that our economy is fairly stable. We do not have major meltdown as some of the countries otherwise have. Okay, so the economy is fairly stable. Okay, our fiscal deficit is large. Okay, please keep writing. The fiscal deficit, it is large, but it is not unmanageable. The fiscal deficit is not unmanageable. Okay, then we said that if you look at India's inflation also has been fairly in control. It's not a runaway inflation where the economy entirely collapses. Okay, the inflation has been fairly in control. We are an economy that has good prospects in terms of labor force. In terms of labor force, you can talk about demographic dividend here. Demographic dividend here. You can talk about a young population. You talk about the young population, the labor force. You can talk about India has low dependency ratio. I hope you know what is dependency ratio, which is the proportion of the aging and the proportion of the children. Okay, so proportion of dependency ratio, the proportion of aging population and the young children is very low. That way, our spending on old age care, our spending on children care, this is a bit low. We call this as low dependency, and this is the direct consequence of our population being relatively younger. India has one of the lowest median age in our population. India has among the lowest median age. Okay, we're talking about a median age in the range of about 25 years, okay, to 27 years. This is a very young population. This is our prospect. Our prospect includes that we have fairly good healthy savings. Okay, our savings is fairly good. Our savings are fairly healthy. Okay, and we also have decent, I'll not say a very high, but we have a decent inflow of investments. In fact, in many ways, India has the prospects of developing into an alternative to East Asia. Okay, so we have decent inflow of investments. So we have the prospect to develop as a credible alternative to East Asia. Okay, East Asia as in China. Okay, alternative to East Asia, to develop as an alternative to China, Korea. Okay, so this is one of the aspects of our prospects. Then, in terms of our prospects, now this is a two-edged sword, that our economy continues to be driven by our domestic demand. Okay, our economy continues to be driven by domestic demand. How is this good? This is good because we are kind of insulated against the global upheavals. But it's bad because if I can't revive my domestic demand, my economy can always spiral down. So here's your point here. The domestic demand is an important prospect. This you have to see in both ways. In some ways, it can be a prospect. In other ways, it can also be a problem. So you understand this, okay? Because if I'm driven by domestic demands, I'm less likely to suffer because of global upheavals. If you look at 2008, you look at 2008 subprime crisis did not impact us as much. The reason was that we were not as well integrated with the global economy. Okay, but then if domestic demand starts reducing, if domestic demand does not revive properly, our economy can again go into some kind of a tailspin. Okay, then we say that the public sector investments, the public sector investments are decent. Remember to moderate these words. The government spending is decent, if not very high. Okay, the government spending is decent. Okay, but it has to increase. It has to increase, and increase particularly in infrastructure and also increase in social sector. Okay. So all the prospects in terms of what can be good for the economy, these are a kind of our strengths. So ऐसा नहीं है कि we're entirely dependent only on the private sector. It's not that we're entirely dependent only on the individuals and FDIs. There is a decent amount of government spending. So we have fair amount of depth in terms of the public spending and government spending. But we say that it can increase. Like it is good, but it can increase, particularly if I'm looking at issues related to infrastructure spendings and issues related to social sector, education, health, and in many ways, I think our COVID challenges are a kind of reminder for us. It's kind of a wake-up call for us. Okay, the government spending is good, but it has to increase to some extent. Now, our reforms have been fairly consistent. Our reforms have been fairly consistent. Okay, it's like a continuum that we are having. And see, reforms ka problem yahi hai na, that in many cases, the reforms are experimental. It does take time for things to ultimately deliver. Okay, healthy savings. Okay, healthy savings. The savings rate is good. That's a very important indicator of how much you can ultimately invest. Healthy savings. Our reforms have been consistent. So we have managed to bring, okay, a relatively better efficiency. Okay, we have good corporate governance. We have good corporate governance. Okay, so reforms we are trying to open up, we are trying to bring in private sector. See, these are things that we know, but the problem is we generally are not sure about writing that into our essays. This public law, okay, and please, I am not the economy teacher, so you have to look up some amount of data on your own. Sara aap mujhse aap nahi le sakte ho, because I will not be able to manage all of that. I'm just giving you the headlines, what you can write on. Okay, so we have low dependency ratio, our proportion of old population and our proportion of children is less. Our population has one of the lowest median age. So we are a very young society. We are a young society, and this directly impacts our labor force. Healthy savings, decent inflow of investments, although it can be better. Okay, we have prospects to develop as a credible alternative to East Asia. We are an economy driven by domestic demand. It can cut both ways. It helps us insulate ourselves to the major global upheavals. But if our domestic demand does not revive properly, we can go into a tailspin. And this again is happening in the recent times because of the three shocks. The three shocks that we have faced. One is the demonetization shock. We have the GST bad implementation shock. And now we have the COVID shock. So these three shocks are impacting our demand. Otherwise, we were fairly insulated by the global upheavals. Our public sector investments are fairly decent. Government spending has been decent, okay, but we still need to increase this, okay, in the infrastructure and in the social sector. Our reforms have been consistent. Okay, even though we talked about a lot of Swadeshi, we have talked about, okay, promoting our industries, the fact is our reforms have happened consistent. Okay, our corporate governance has been good. The amount of corruption is not as bad as we have in parts of Africa. Okay, not as bad as we have in parts of Latin America. Our efficiency of governance has also increased, and our share in global trade, okay, is increasing. Okay, with the US, we have run into surplus. Okay. We are talking about managing the deficit with China. As of now, our proportion of global share of global trade is less than 2%, which we want to increase to about 4 to 5%. Okay. India's share in the global trade is less than 2%, which we intend to increase to 4 to 5%. And in recent times, okay, now see, the bulk of our imbalance in global trade is because of import of POL. But with collapsing oil prices, okay, plus expansion of renewable energy, okay, India's dependence in oil imports will not increase dramatically. If not reduce too much, it will not increase dramatically. Collapsing oil prices, which will be muted for some more time, and our expansion of renewable energy, it means, okay, oil prices will not impact us, okay, for some time more. In fact, we say this is a very good opportunity, like, where we can diversify into alternative energy resources. Okay, it's a good opportunity to diversify into alternative energy resources. Okay, so a short write-up related to what are the prospects and what are our strengths. Okay, prospects and strengths of our economy. I hope you have written these points down. ये points आपके essays में दिखना चाहिए across different write-ups. Okay. Now, one very important development has been that we have improved our standings in ease of doing business. Okay. As a part of what are the positives? Okay. We have improved our position in ease of doing business. Do you know what is the rank India has right now? Our rank is 63rd position out of 190 countries. Yes, 63rd position out of 190 countries. And the main reason why this has happened is our improvement in 4 areas. Okay. What did we improve in? We improved in 4 areas. What are the 4 areas they improved in? Number 1 is we have managed to ease starting of business. So compliance obligations. Compliance obligations has decreased, so it's easier to start business. Then we have invested, okay, in developing warehousing. Developing warehousing. We have invested in encouraging, okay, trade across border. Trade across border has become better. And of course, yes, we have managed to resolve insolvency. We have managed to resolve insolvency. So 4 reasons why our ranking in ease of doing business has improved. The 4 reasons is, number 1, I said, the compliance obligations are lesser today. That's why it is easier to start a business. Compliance obligations are lesser. Our warehousing has improved, storage, warehousing, including logistics. Okay. Warehousing and logistics has improved. We have been able to encourage, okay, trade across borders, which basically includes, again, a bit of transportation issues related to infrastructure, documentation, and the rest. And the 4th is we have been able to resolve insolvency better. So in South Asia, we are the leaders. In South Asia, our rank is the best. In South Asia, our rank is the best. Okay. And one very important aspect is that ease of doing business is no longer related to Delhi alone. They've expanded this to include Kolkata also. They expanded this to include Bengaluru, okay, and also Mumbai. This is an example of some kind of dispersion. Okay? Ease of doing business is no longer about Delhi alone. It includes Kolkata, Bengaluru, and Mumbai in ease of doing business. So what are our strengths? What are our prospects? Now add karna, ease of doing business. Now in terms of financial market, okay, BSE is one of the largest in the world in terms of market capitalization. BSE is one of the largest in the world in terms of market capitalization. Okay. BSE, financial market mein BSE is one of the largest. Second is our manufacturing sector is the world's 6th largest. Okay. Services, khaskar IT related, we are definitely global leaders. Services, in particular IT sector related, we are global leaders. Okay. And we are also, leaders in terms of agriculture production. We are leaders in terms of agriculture production. So this becomes part of what are our strengths and what are our prospects. लिख लिया आप लोगों ने? Summarize this in one page. It helps you, okay, collate information when you're looking to write an essay. Any doubts? I believe I've just spelled out whatever are our prospects. Repeat the first one, BSE. Okay, we are one of the largest in market. BSE census. Okay. BSE index census की बात कर रहे हैं. Talking about the financial market. I'm talking about the stock exchange. We are the largest. We're the largest we're among the largest, not the largest, among the largest in market capitalization. But a year term you should be knowing. Okay. In manufacturing, we are the 6th largest country. In manufacturing, we are the 6th largest country. Okay. Services sector, services sector, IT, okay, we are among the leaders. And agriculture production, we are among the leaders. Yes, you can also talk about that we are improving our IPR issues also. ये भी add कर सकते हो. Of course, not as much because we still continue to be ranked not as favorably in innovation. Okay, but IPR, okay, our position has increased, has bettered over the couple of years. Okay, so you have a fair idea about what are the prospects and strengths of our economy. Okay, now we'll move on towards what are our concerns. Like, what are our concerns? Concerns में, remember that E that we talked about, okay? The E that we talked about. ये basic facts हो गए. Prospects बता दिया. Now I'm moving on towards concerns, and then I will move on towards the specifics. Okay, can you move on? Yeah, mining also we are among the larger ones. Okay, definitely among the mining. See, there's no end to what you can expand here. I've just given you a quick list. And if you have some more points, please do add. Don't stop there. Okay. Now, what are our concerns, mate? Okay. One big concern is our poverty and inequality. Okay. Poverty and inequality, and I'll come back and discuss this again. Okay. But poverty and inequality is very high in India. This is one of the concerns. Our concerns includes our unorganized sector. Unorganized sector. There's a very large unorganized sector. It's more than 95%. It's difficult to regulate this. Unorganized sector is very, very large. And the consequence of this is that our taxpayers' base is very narrow. Just about 2%, just about 2% pay taxes. Just about 2% pay taxes. Okay. Fiscal deficit is not unmanageable, but fiscal deficit is high. And the CAG report says the fiscal deficit is as much as 5 to 6%. So this is not a runaway fiscal deficit, but then we should not be ignoring this. Halaki, if you have read the recent news, Raghuram Rajan says that in this crisis situations, it is not a bad idea to start printing notes, that we can monetize our deficit. Are you aware of this fact? According to Raghuram Rajan, okay, it is okay if we want to monetize, okay, yes, helicopter money. Okay, so at that point here, now fiscal deficit is not really runaway, entirely unmanageable, but it's always better to control it. But given the circumstances we are in right now, okay, so there are recommendations that we can monetize our deficit, but then we have to be careful. Okay, we should not become a solution for any crisis in the future. So that's an important point. That is a concern, if not a debilitating one. Now, a very big important concern in recent times is the banking debts. Okay, the banking debts, okay, the increasing NPAs, okay, write-off of loans, and the liquidity problems of the NBFCs, non-banking financial, okay, entities. There is an element of liquidity crisis. So this is something. Now, in your essays paper, you don't have to elaborate this. You don't have to explain in 2 pages what is the banking problem that we have, but the essay should tell us something about if there is ground to discuss it. Okay, so talk about the Yes Bank crisis. We talk about the cooperative banks going bust. Okay, Bank of Baroda did have a problem, the problem of unaccounted credit, which has been extended, lack of collateral, lack of guarantees, and get political issues there. So this is definite, and you will know more than me because you have studied economy very exclusively as a part of a GS. So I can only hint this point here. Okay, so banking debt is an important concern, and this has led to low credit takeoff. low credit takeoff. And देखो, credit takeoff is a very important aspect of investments, a very important aspect of driving liquidity. Okay, so if the credit takeoff is less, if less and less people are taking loans, okay, faster for industrial economic growth aspects, this could be indicator of that all is not healthy with our economy. And in your essays, please do use such phrases. Okay, it's very important to use some phrases that make your essay look like a studied one. Okay, so banking crisis, NBFC's liquidity crunch, and the low credit takeoff. Okay, and then I did mention that there is a slump. There is a slump in demand. There is a slump in demand. Okay, and because we are a demand driven economy, okay, this becomes a bit more tricky. Okay, so there is a slump in demand. This is a matter of concern, and very interesting, okay, concern. Now this is a very interesting one. Unemployment in India has been high. Okay. India has the problem of disguised unemployment related to agriculture, but very interesting, India does not have consistent, reliable, okay, quarterly and yearly data on unemployment. I don't know if you know this or not. Okay, unemployment is high in India. India does have this problem of, okay, disguised unemployment, primarily because of the agriculture sector. Okay, but this is a major data which we have not been collecting properly. Okay, the agency responsible for unemployment data is NSSO. NSSO is the primary agency that should have been looking into our unemployment data. Okay, but what we're saying here is, that we do not have consistent, reliable, quarterly and yearly data on unemployment. Okay, when I was reading this, I actually was shocked to some extent. The first time we started collecting data on unemployment was 2004-2005, and we published data every 5 years. We published data every 5 years. 2012, 2017, we did not publish data on unemployment. 2012, 2017, okay, we did not publish, and 2018 also we have not published. In fact, this probably is an information that we may be hiding. Okay, age information hai, unemployment information. This could be one information where we are deliberately hiding. That's not a very good aspect of an economy. Okay, it has not been published since 2012-17. Every 5 years karte hain. 2004-5 to 2010 we did. From 10 onwards we had some yearly one. Uske baad humne kiya hi nahi. Okay, so this is a blind spot, but there is ILO that does some service. There's some data. NGOs have their own data. There are independent agencies which have their own data. More or less, our employment is in the range of, unemployment is in the range of 3 to 6%, okay, which is not low, and unemployment, youth unemployment is very, very high. Okay, youth unemployment is very, very high. It's as much as more than 20%. Okay, youth unemployment is high. Youth unemployment is as much as more than 20%. Yeah, I mean, see, the idea here is not to remember the exact fact, but have a fair idea about what you want to speak. Okay, don't ignore okay, the aspects here. Okay, so this is a matter of concern. And in this reference, you can talk about the gig economy. You can talk about problems related to skilling, problems related to automation, okay, problems related to migrant labor crisis, ये सब related है to this problem of unemployment. I hope you know what gig economy means. Okay, this is an economy which is not going to offer you employment security, which will not offer you, okay, proper safety. This economy, there is no surety of your jobs. These are generally low paid, okay, typically high and fire types. Okay, we're talking about Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato. So gig economy is not really the economy we want to look forward to. Yes, delivery boys, exactly. Okay, so आप लोग लिख लो points. Then you can go back and elaborate and think about what to write and what not to write. So unemployment is a concern, and to this, if you add the problem of COVID, okay, then it looks all the more scary. Like if you add the problem of COVID and the migration in recent times, this can become a bit more scary. So unemployment is a concern. Now, another concern that we have is low levels of human development. We're talking about health issues. We're talking about issues related to education, literacy rates. We're talking about life expectancy. Okay, we're talking about gender issues. We have low levels of human development. Okay, so we fall in the category of low, medium, HDI. We are in the lower bracket. We are in the lower bracket of medium HDI countries. Okay, so gig economy, skilling problems, problems of automation. We can have robotics, which can displace Indian labor, and migrant labor crisis. Okay, so low human development index, another one. And yes, in this आप add कर सकते हो health issues, malnutrition, education and literacy, like average years of schooling. You can talk about gender issues, like drinking water, okay, and so on. Okay, drinking water and so on. Despite all economic, despite all economic reforms, despite all FDI in the services and in manufacturing sector, despite integration with the global economy, despite integration with the global economy, okay, our agriculture, okay, dependence has not reduced. Okay, this is a concern. Our population continues to be dependent on agriculture. If you look at, okay, are you all keeping pace with me? Are you all keeping pace with me, or am I too fast? The speed is okay, the pace is okay, all of you? Yeah, okay. So what I was saying is that despite the economic reforms, despite FDI in the services and in the manufacturing sector, despite our growing integration with the global economy, our agriculture dependence has not declined dramatically. Agriculture and allied sector continues to absorb more than 50% of India's labor force. It continues to absorb more than 50% of India's labor force. And the problem here is that agriculture's contribution contribution to the GDP has dramatically declined. Has dramatically declined. Okay, this is a concern. Agriculture allied continues to absorb more than 50% of our labor force. Okay, it is a major employment sector, but its contribution to GDP has declined. What this basically means is a sector which is declining economically continues to be dependent on by many people. It's like the cake is shrinking, but more and more people continue to depend on that cake. Okay, so I repeat this point. What this means is, okay, shrinking, okay, economic sector continues to be depended upon by majority of the labor force. And that's one reason why our unemployment is higher, why we have disguised unemployment. Okay, it is related to this. Okay, agriculture sector has not been expanding, but agriculture dependence of the population is still very high in terms of employment. Okay, so these are some of the concerns. Now, this concern, if I take it further, okay, yes, exactly. Okay, now if I take this conversation further, now 4 large employers, okay, 4 large employers, okay, which includes agriculture, we have construction and real estate, the textile sector, okay, and manufacturing. I'm keeping textiles separately because it is a fairly large, say, employer. It employs almost 45 million. Okay, it employs almost 40 to 50 million population, and it is worth approximately $150 billion ka sector hai, textile. Okay, but railways is not a sector like that. Okay, so railways is part of services. Okay, otherwise look at the 4. Okay, agriculture sector, construction and real estate, textile, manufacturing. Like manufacturing, these are the 4 large employers, and all the 4 have been consistently declining. Agriculture declining has been on for some time. Construction and real estate almost 3 to 4 years ho chuka hai. It has stagnant and declined. Textile isn't growing really, and manufacturing, okay, hasn't taken off. Hasn't taken off, okay, in terms of what it can. This is a concern for large employers. Or IT sector jo hai, IT sector, it is approximately about $200 billion. Okay, and this employs barely 4 million. The IT sector is very large, but look at its employment prospect. It employs barely 4 million. So conclusion here is that if we are looking at solving the problems of unemployment, these 4 are going to be the critical deciding factors in the future. IT sector आपका enabler होगा. This will be an enabler. It will complement but it itself directly will not produce as many jobs. It will not produce as many jobs. And to this, okay, and to this you could also add, okay, very important, ये भी बड़ा काफी बड़ा है, the retail market. The retail market, this is among the largest of the world again. It is among the largest of the world, retail market. Right now, it is worth almost 10% of GDP. Okay. So if I'm looking at a $3 trillion economy, okay, in terms of dollars, so it's 10% of that is retail market. Okay. And retail market also includes, it includes e-commerce and the gig economy. And this has also shrunk. और इसका वही 3 अटैक हुआ है, demonetization, the faulty implementation of GST, and COVID. Okay, it's like the 3 whammies which has impacted the retail market also. Okay, so what are the concerns? What I've seen is when our students are asked, tell us what are the concerns of India's economy, most of them write the essay very conventionally. Problem is poverty, problem is agriculture, problem is lack of infrastructure, problem is a lack of investment. This is too generic. You'll have to be as specific as possible. So here's the jotting here. If I ask you what are the concerns of India's economy, what are the problems of India's economy, now you are a bit more specific. Retail market issues, IT sector, okay, and its limitations there. You can talk specifically about the real estate and so on. So here the data hai na, this helps your essays look a bit more smarter. Okay, the retail market is worth, it is worth more than, okay, $650 billion sector. Okay, $650 billion in the form of notes. Dhruv वो भी दे देंगे आपको. Okay, वो भी मिल जाएगा आपको. By the way, I'm asking all of you, do you want me to discuss this the way I'm doing, or do you want it as a one-page write-up? I can give it to you. Okay, if I can do that, it saves me a lot of time also. Okay, so I thought if I'm discussing, if I'm talking about things, you remember things better, then I give you correlationships better. And trust me, whatever I'm saying is not what I've created. If you open up your 3 documents, open up Wikipedia, open up economic survey, and maybe some sites, se sara kuch mil jayega aapko. Okay, so fine. If most of you think I must discuss, I'm discussing this. Okay. Yes, even I realize that notes to mil jayenge, but I'm not very sure how many of you will read it. Okay, so the concerns of the economy are to be written in this form. Achha, one more very important untapped potential for India. Another of the untapped potential of India is our mining sector. If you look in terms of mines, we are one of the largest of the world. Okay, we are among the largest of the world. Okay, we rank within the first 5, but mining sector contributes barely 2 to 2.5% to the GDP. In fact, mining has been a very important employer in the tribal regions. Okay, but the squeeze on the mining because of corruption, because of regulation, and I hope the recent amendments and the reforms we have brought in, particularly in the coal mining, okay, in exploration rights, okay, we have been encouraging private sector participation also. This probably can help revive some bit of employment. Okay, yes, please do add those points also. Absolutely. Okay, so mining sector is one of the untapped areas, but yes, we need very good regulations here to encourage investments in the mining sector. Okay, so mining you can look up on your own. Okay, so this is the summary of, okay, what are the concerns of India's economy. What are the concerns? Okay, of Indian economy, this page and the previous page. Okay, previous page, if I quickly list it down for you, we have problems of poverty and inequality. Problems of poverty and inequality. Now, this is something I have not discussed in detail. I will do this now. Okay, otherwise, unorganized sector hai, 2%, barely 2% pay taxes. Our fiscal deficit is not unmanageable, but it is high. Banking problems hai, unserviced debts hai, NBFCs have liquidity crunch, slump in demand, unemployment is very high, and unemployment discussion here is that we do not have credible data in terms of unemployment. Okay. Okay, we do not have credible data in terms of unemployment. The government has not been publishing the data as consistently. Okay, NSSO has not been publishing. We have once in 5 years, so वो भी पिछले 7 साल में the data of unemployment has not been shared. It could be because we might be hiding the truth or sweeping the issues under the carpet here. And the gig economy makes unemployment crisis a bit more critical. खासकर COVID हो गया है. Demonetization and the cash transactions have been squeezed out here. Okay, so this is a matter of concern. Then we talked about how our overall human development is also not very encouraging. Our issues of health, malnutrition, literacy rates, gender issues become in the lower categories of medium HDI. Okay, so social sector is one which needs investment. Okay, social sector spending has to increase. Okay, and despite all economic reforms, okay, despite all FDIs which have come in, despite our global integration with the global economy, agriculture dependence continues to be fairly high. Agriculture continues to be the major employer, despite the fact agriculture's share to GDP has been shrinking. In real terms, it has been shrinking very dramatically. So an example I said of a cake that is shrinking, but the people depending on the cake continues to be very, very high. Okay, so this was a summary of this page. And the next page, of course, I have already listed those issues, the 4 big employers. Now to this, I will add one more concern, that even if our ease of doing business has improved, even if our ranking in ease of doing business has improved, what has happened is our global competitiveness has declined. Global competitiveness has declined. Or declined aisa waisa bhi nahi. The decline has been almost as much as 10 ranking points. Do you know what is the rank right now? What is India's rank in Global Competitiveness Index? By the way, who publishes the World Competitiveness Index? Who publishes? Yes, World Economic Forum. And who publishes ease of doing business? Who publishes? World Bank, yes. So competitive index has declined. We are now ranked 68, along with Brazil, which is ranked, I think, 71 shayad. India's rank is among the lower ones in the BRICS countries. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa mein, India ranks pretty low in competitiveness index. And the reason now देखो, competitive index in this index has 2 broad range of parameters. ये जो index है, there are 2 broad range of parameters. One range of parameters are to do with economy issues. And the second set of parameters are to do with human development indicators. What is the basis of WEF of this index, there are two broad set of parameters. One are those related to economic issues. So we're talking about market size. We're talking about corporate governance. We're talking about economic stability. We're talking about size of financial market. The size of financial market. On these parameters, India has actually improved. The economic parameters, India has improved. What we have messed up is the human development parameters. Parameters related to health, parameters related to education literacy related to innovation, okay. Parameters related to adoption of ICT, because adoption of ICT is a function of your education levels, okay. So what I'm discussing, how this is also a concern, that India's ease of doing business rank has improved, but India's global competitiveness index has declined. Okay, we have declined from 58 to 48, almost 10 points we have fallen. And along with Brazil, which is at around 71st rank, we are the lower countries in the BRICS group of nations. And this global competitiveness index, it is based on two set of parameters. There are economic parameters and there are human development parameters. The economic parameters are related to market size, corporate governance, economic stability, financial markets. Financial markets. The economy issues over. But if you look at the human issues, the health, education, innovation, ICT adoption, information, communication, technology adoption, ICT adoption, rights of labor force, the labor security aspects, labor security aspects, labor skills, the skilling component of the labor. All of these are part of human development. Now on these parameters, India has slipped. Overall, because of this, India's position has come down. Now you must relate this. Need to write this down, all of you. You must relate this. You must relate this with what I discussed earlier. That our government spending in the social sector has to improve. Our government spending in the social sector, it is not very low, but it must improve. This discussion मैंने किया था यहाँ पर. This is a very important aspect. देखो, where will you use this data? Remember, because of COVID and the recent distrust related to China and Wuhan, increasingly we are trying to showcase India as an alternative destination for investments compared to China. We are showcasing that, no? Our infrastructure minister, Mr. Gadkari, goes on record to say that China may not be the preferred anymore. Now see, this shift from China will not happen overnight. Our shift from China hone wala hai, the shift will happen more towards Vietnam, will happen more towards South Korea, will happen more towards Taiwan maybe, if Taiwan can be secured well, will happen more towards Israel maybe, but shift towards India is less likely immediately. Even if we say that Indian government has managed some labor reforms and we have acquired land as much as double the size of Luxembourg for encouraging FDI, but the fact is India's competitiveness index is low. and the competitiveness index is dependent on the human aspects: literacy, skilling, employability, innovation quotient, okay, labor security. These are very, very important aspects. So if you do not work on those aspects, ये जो aspect आपका discuss किया मैंने, if you do not work on this aspect, okay, our competitiveness may not be as much. I hope all of you know how Bangladesh, even Pakistan, has managed to get a good size of FDI compared to India and India's size. Okay, so our point here is that the human aspects, investment in human aspects, investments in health, okay, literacy, investment in skilling missions and innovations, this will be a decisive factor when industries are looking to shift out of China. Okay, then the global supply chains reorient. This is going to be a very, very important aspect. In fact, the consensus is, the consensus जो है, that says, आप लिख लो आप इसको, consensus says that because India's human aspects are not as well developed, because India's human aspect is not as well developed, okay, India is less prepared to deal with problems of global slowdown. Because India's human aspect is not as well developed, India is less prepared to deal with problems of global slowdown. India's economy is not as resilient if integrated with the global economy. India's economy is not as resilient if it is integrated with the global economy. Yes, absolutely. Political stability and democracy matters. Okay, but then the problem is, okay, China is able to give more political stability than India, even if it is not a democracy. Okay, Vietnam is doing a better job. Bangladesh is doing a better job. Okay, so is South Korea doing a better job, right? So political stability and democracy, okay, even if it's a very big advantage, but we have not been able to convince the world to invest on the basis of democracy. So somewhere, I do not know if the world really trusts our democracy or not. Okay, they probably are more okay with an economy that declares it is not democracy, rather than an economy that declares democracy, but it is not compliant with our democratic objectives or democratic principles. Okay. Yeah. What did you market? Yes. But India में बेटा spending capacity बहुत कम है. Okay. Has the edge? Yes. I think Mangalam to some extent is right. China has an edge because it is not democratic. That's why it will force a lot of labor reforms. It's not good for the people, but good for the country as a whole. So I do not know if you want to go the China way. That's your choice. Is it okay, all of you? What are the concerns? What are the concerns related to India's economy? I'm sure you know quite a bit of this. I'm helping you put it as a part of one conversation. Yes, yes, you're right about the mining sector, correct? Okay. Can I move on? Did you write down all these points? You want a break? You had a break when you started off. Okay. Take a 5 minutes break. It is 11:40 by my watch. Be back in 5 minutes. Then I'll discuss some aspect of poverty and disparities and deprivation. Okay. Take 5 minutes break. We'll start. Okay. Okay, let's get back now. Okay. So I go back to the format I discussed. I said we are discussing the E of economy. Okay. E of economy. I've discussed the basic facts. I've discussed the prospects. I've discussed the concerns. Now, very specific, I'm discussing poverty and disparity. Okay? अगर आप टॉपिक देखोगे ना लास्ट almost 7 years में, you'll realize that all the topics are around poverty and disparity. Inclusive growth, okay, can we remove poverty? Okay, whether we should be giving jobs or okay, lending hands or giving out doles. Okay, job problems, problems of unemployment, automation. Okay, so ये आपके facts हैं. These are the facts. Okay, and very specifically prospects का मतलब है what are the future positives that we have. Okay, and I'm specifically discussing poverty and disparity now. And around this, I will discuss the larger 4 circles. Okay. Can we move on now? Issues and concerns. And you can use them alternatively. No big deal here. Okay. Now about poverty, all of you are GS students. Can you tell me what are the main measures of poverty? What are the main measures of poverty? Okay. So main measures में one is income based. Okay. देखो, listen to me. Whatever I am teaching, it's impossible you do not know this. But I'm organizing this in a different way. Okay. So look at this. एक है income based measures. Second is consumption based measures. Okay. Income based measure किसका है? Does anybody knows? Income based measures. Okay. Income based measure किसका है? World Bank का है. Okay. International poverty line. We have got World Poverty Clock. Have heard about World Poverty Clock? It's a Vienna-based think tank. Okay. This is part of World Bank initiative itself. World Poverty Clock is Vienna-based think tank. Okay. And this gives you real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring. Yes, you're right. Okay, it is $1.9, $1.9. Okay, according to 2011 prices, $1.9, and this is also equivalent to $1 a day according to 1996. Okay, according to 1996. Okay, and you know this is based on PPP. Now, based on this, what is the amount of poverty in the world? Does anybody know? Okay, based on this, what is the amount of poverty in the world? The poverty in the world is approximately around 750 million people. 750 million people is the poverty. That's approximately around 10% of the world's population. Are you all with me? Yeah, देखो बेटा ये सब डिटेल जरूरी है. Okay, if having done your GS, you are missing these facts, okay, then it's dangerous. Anyways, let the essay classes revive those points back. Okay, so income-based measures में World Bank है, International Poverty Line है, World Poverty Clock है, okay, which is a Vienna-based think tank. It gives you real-time monitoring of poverty. $1.9 a day, according to 2011 PPP basis pay. Okay, and this is equivalent to $1 a day according to 1996 prices. I mean, this is what has been more popular. And based on this, the amount of poverty is 750 million or 10% of, I'm approximating all the numbers, okay? It could be 738, 740, 753, approximately 750 million, about 10% of the world's population. And the main regions which are poor of the world, एक है Sub-Saharan Africa, okay, South Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, okay. It includes Southeast Asia में, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. That it includes the Pacific Islands. It includes Pacific Islands, and some of the countries of Latin America too. Okay, the poorest. Okay, this one it also includes parts of, yes, it also includes tribes. Correct. Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia. South Asia में India has the largest. Okay. Largest. Southeast Asia, Pacific Islands, Latin America के कुछ parts have this kind of poverty. And also remember that because of this, MDG goal number 1 was about halving the extreme poverty by 2015, and we achieved this target 5 years earlier. Okay, so basically the world has done a good job. Okay, we have done a good job in reducing extreme poverty, and the SDG goal says that extreme poverty has to be eliminated by 2030. Okay. Africa ka largely West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa and West Africa has higher poverty. Okay, so poverty eradication was one of the goals of MDG, and the target was to halve the extreme poverty by 2015. And we've achieved this 5 years earlier. By 2010, we have achieved this. So we have done a good job in reducing extreme poverty, and the SDG now talks about, okay, eliminating poverty. It talks about eliminating extreme poverty by 2030. Okay, no poverty, eliminate poverty. MDG, Millennium Development Goals. SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals. I believe you should be knowing this. Now, can you tell me what exactly worked here? How were we successful in reducing this? Okay. The main reason why this was possible was globalization. Globalization since 1950s that accelerated after 1980. देखो, uh, you might have a topic that asks you or that debates around whether globalization is dead or not. Okay, so I'll come back when I'm discussing the fourth circle, which is globalization and some issues of ideology. I'll come back there. Okay, but otherwise we say globalization has been responsible for removing poverty. In fact, globalization was responsible for removing or from removing, okay, 60,000 people per day from extreme poverty. From extreme poverty. Globalization and global trade. Global trade, okay. The beneficiaries of which were China, India, Southeast Asia. I'm talking about ASEAN. We're talking about Latin America. Okay. Okay. So based on what I discussed about poverty, what I'm saying is globalization was a favorable process in removing and reducing poverty. Okay. Which had started in 50s. Okay, since the reforms we had, the Marshall Plan that we had, global trade starts, and NAFTA starts off, and all of work. But 80s onwards, which was IT driven, okay, globalization on average was responsible for removing 60,000 people per day from extreme poverty. So let us not dismiss globalization entirely. Okay. Globalization and global trade has helped China, India, Southeast Asia, the ASEAN countries, Latin America, yes, somebody said Mexico and Brazil. Mexico and Brazil. Okay. It did help. It did help. Mexico and Brazil more. It did help Mexico and Brazil more. What globalization did was it shifted poverty solutions from aid to investments. It shifted the poverty. Beta, math thoda padhaun before you start teaching. Okay, can you allow me to teach first? Okay, then we'll see what points you can add. Okay. Yes, it has not helped developing countries, beneficiaries. So hold that on right now. Okay, let us see what were the positives first. Then we'll discuss about what went wrong here. What went wrong, most of you know about it. What are the positives is what we will miss out. Okay? So, मैं पढ़ा लेता हूँ, then I'll give the class to you also. So, I'm saying is that globalization shifted the solutions of poverty from aid to investments. Aid and grants and food aid. Okay, it shifted to investments. It shifted the process to FDI. Okay, it shifted the process towards encouraging more of shoring of manufacturing base from Europe and from US. Okay, what globalization did was it developed the group called as G20 group. Okay, G5 the powerful OECD countries. Now we have a group called as G20 countries, which includes some of the higher income countries under the developing countries. The G20 became a major political force to bargain, okay, for itself to some extent. Okay, so this is how globalization helped address poverty. In fact, if you look at the trends here, okay, in 1990, poverty levels in the world was as much as 2 billion people. 2 billion people, that is approximately more than 40% of the global population, 1990. 2008, 2010 में poverty had declined to 1.2 billion. In 2008, 2010 में poverty had declined to 1.2 billion, and this was about 20% of the world's population. And by 2016, okay, poverty had declined to, okay, less than 800 million, and that's approximately about 10% of the world's population. And that's a pretty rapid decline of poverty. Okay, so globalization, and to some extent even the free market economy that the world has been promoting, it is not without merits entirely. Okay, so we give it the credit where it is due. Okay, so it did help. It did help remove poverty, reduce poverty, because trade brought with itself investments, trade brought with itself technology. Okay, the grant and aid type of support reduced, which was more like charity. Now you are creating jobs, you are giving employment. China becomes a major force. India also has emerged. ASEAN has been a major force. So this would not have happened if globalization was not around. Okay, so by that sense we say globalization. Of course, now we must assess the entire thing in a different context. We can talk about COVID, what this will do to globalization, and we can talk about inequalities and what that can do to globalization. Okay, so this is one aspect of, okay, understanding globalization. Is that okay, all of you? Is this fine, all of you? Okay. Now, after I finish the lecture, go back to your room and see the topics that I have made you write down. Okay, and see how much of it you can use from the notes. FDI, foreign direct investments, FDI. The government now attracts FDI rather than take aid from US in the name of charity. Okay, yes, Bedenwood twins here. Okay, so that's one aspect. Okay, get back now. Okay, you understand this. Now, we also have consumption-based measures. In India, we follow the consumption-based measure. This was suggested by Planning Commission. Okay, we have, you know about Tendulkar Committee recommendations, you know about Rangarajan Committee recommendation. India follows the calorie, okay, method of consumption. Okay, calorie method of consumption is what India follows. Okay, but we have a third measure also. Can anybody tell me what is the third one? Okay, can somebody tell me what is the third method of poverty estimation? Human capital, CPI, deprivation. Yes, you're not wrong there. Yes, we have multi-dimensional poverty. Yes, multi-dimensional poverty index है, ठीक है. But what is this based on? What is it based on? It is based on access to services. Poverty on the basis of access to services. It is possible a person has income but cannot access health infrastructure. Okay, a person has income but probably cannot buy his food. He has income but he probably can't go to school. The access to services, yes, this is the human development approach, correct. This is the human development approach. And this approach talks about poverty in terms of not only income. Yes, it is the capability approach, correct. It is the capability approach. It talks about poverty in terms of, okay, in terms of deprivation, the deprivation to basic needs. Your basic needs means drinking water. Basic needs, okay, means health, education, okay, home and shelter. It also means, okay, rights of children, the specific, okay, health issues of children. Okay, so this is a different approach. Now, you can be critical about globalization on the basis of this. See, when I talk about globalization, there are two aspects. Okay, did globalization increase our income? Yes, it did. This is without saying. Like, irrespective of which class you belong to, unless it is those backward regions of Africa and the extremely poor regions of Africa, irrespective of that, okay, whichever place you have been or you have lived in, your income has increased. And that's what we mean when we say globalization has removed people out of extreme poverty in terms of income. But now we discuss what did globalization do in terms of deprivation with respect to basic needs. Now, isme kya hai? We have a mixed experience. Okay, we have a mixed experience. So, for some population, it did increase the access, but for many population, the access was unequal. Okay, now this is the issue related to inequality. Okay, yes, if your income is improving, you definitely can buy better food. Income improves, you definitely can buy better, okay, education for yourself. You can buy a better home for yourself. But in terms of, okay, the differences in quality, okay, the inequality has been much higher here. Okay. Yeah, we'll come back when we'll talk about what Francis Fukuyama says. He talks about the end of civilization. We'll talk about that afterwards. Okay. He is critical about the rise of protectionism. We'll come back after as part of the philosophy we're talking about. Okay. So this is a concern that the globalization, okay, the access to basic needs has been unequal. Some have benefited more, and in some cases, people have been denied. In fact, the biggest challenge of globalization is sustainability. Sustainability to access, sustainability in access. Sustainability, okay, in access to basic needs. Okay, and this includes problems related to climate change. Maybe I have more money, I have better food, but there's no guarantee if I will continue to have more money when we have recurrent droughts and cyclones. Yes, I have a good house today, but does not mean I can, okay, be assured of a good house when we have problems related to cyclones and tsunamis, okay, and landslides and flash floods. Okay, so globalization, because ultimately, see, globalization is essentially a type of expanding, okay, capitalism. That is the form in which globalization has spread. I repeat, if you look at globalization, so what are the problems here? They say if we analyze globalization, it has essentially been expansion of corporates. It has been expansion of capitalism. It has been expansion of class divides. Okay. Globalization in that sense has been exploitative of labor, exploitative of environment, exploitative of legal loopholes. I mean, just imagine the way Facebook exploits the legal loopholes, okay, or corporates, okay, when they pollute, they do not always pay for the problems. So what happened in, okay, Vizag, okay, Vishakhapatnam, the gas leak. I'm not very sure the amount of compensation LG has been asked to pay. Okay, I think LG has been asked to pay how much? 30 crores? Kitna hai? Anybody remembers the figure? 50 crores. And 50 crore is nothing for a company like LG. And who decides this kind of compensation? Like, look at the people dead. Look at what happened to the ecosystem there. Okay, so if you look at the sense of justice, and that's what we say. Okay, that's what we say by legal loopholes. It is initial amount, but you do not know, okay, how long the cases can. So globalization now becomes kind of, okay, synonym for exploitation of labor force, exploitation of environment, legal loopholes, policy loopholes. Okay, so what this does is it makes the economy unsustainable. Yes, I agree. It's a very tricky thing. If we penalize too much, okay, we can lose investments. Okay, so we do not know what is the right boundary beyond which we should not be penalizing. Okay, so the kind of monopoly Reliance is becoming with Facebook, the kind of monopoly Jio becomes with Facebook. If we try tinkering with that, now the corporate can cry unfair, okay, and which in long term can make things unsustainable. So this unsustainability has resulted in lack of assurance of future growth. You do not know. COVID is probably the consequence of that type of unsustainable growth. Lack of assurance of future growth. Okay, lack of future security, both economic security, environmental security. Okay, that is why we say that globalization has not done a very good work. Okay, it has not done a very good work in terms of ensuring, okay, equitable justice. Right? You missed out something. Capitalism, yes, corporates, correct. Where did I write that? Probably the previous page. Yes, corporatization, yes. Capitalism, okay. Expansion of corporates, correct. Okay. Now you must go back and read some of those topics. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Trickle down didn't happen. Okay, fine. I mean, some of you can appreciate this. We will come back to what's new imperialism and the rest. अब देखो आप ये topic देखो आप. Okay. Look at this topic. The topic says, okay, last year's topic, neglect of primary health care and education in India are the reasons for backwardness. Can you link healthcare and education now in terms of basic needs? Okay, look at this one. Okay, poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. How poverty can create, okay, and the kind of poverties we have, okay, it does make things unsustainable. Okay. Look at this topic. It says near jobless growth in India, an anomaly or an outcome of economic reforms. If the economic reforms are part of globalization extension, then you know why we have problems of jobless growth. And this was a topic, straight topic. Can capitalism bring inclusive growth? If you look at globalization, capitalism, okay, globalization actually is extending the agenda of capitalism. Okay, so two parts I have discussed. Okay, two parts we have discussed. One is discussing, okay, one discussing how globalization So poverty is measured in terms of index income. You measure poverty in terms of consumption and measure poverty in terms of access to services. Access to services may be talking in relation to what has happened in the name of globalization. So on one side, globalization has removed people from poverty in income terms, but in terms of access to basic amenities, there are serious inequalities. Okay, capitalism, corporates, and class divide. This is class divide. All good here? All good. And I hope you know this. MDI, okay, multi-dimensional poverty index, MDPI, it gives 33% weightage to education. Okay, years in schooling, average years of schooling and expected years of schooling. Okay. So that is why these human aspects are more important in terms of dealing with issues of poverty. Now talking about India, okay, if you go by income, okay, India has 3 to 5% of people below poverty. That's approximately 70 to 80 million. I'm talking India centric. Okay, if you go by income, okay, $1.9 a day as defined by World Bank or International Poverty Line. Okay, income based poverty is 3 to 5%, which is approximately 70 to 80 million population. If I go by consumption, and multi-dimensional poverty, the poverty is as much as around 300 to 400 million. Okay, that is approximately around 30 to 35% of India's poverty or India's population. 3 to 5% of population. Beta, when you say percentage, poverty ka always with respect to population hi hota hai. Yes, MDI, okay, it gives 33 percentage weightage to education in its parameters. Okay, so this is the India's figure, or India ke figure mein hi aayega. Okay, 1% of the richest, 1% of the richest control 3/4 of India's wealth. This is the level of inequality we have. In fact, if you add up these 4 or 5 companies, okay, they're as good as GDP of some countries. Reliance family, Wipros, okay, talk about Hinduja families, okay, Adani Group, आप add कर लें. Okay. Source is World Bank. World Bank का report है. If you want the name of the report, it is one is Global Wealth Migration Review 2019. I've taken up from Oxfam also. Oxfam का भी report है. Oxfam report है, World Bank का report है, और एक ऐसे Global Wealth Migration Review 2019, and you have one more report. Wait, I wrote that down. I was anticipating you would need it. Do you know India's Gini coefficient? What is India's Gini coefficient? Yes. What is India's Gini coefficient? Yeah, 0.33, approximately. Okay, approximately. Okay, so 0.3, 0.33, which is not very high disparity as compared to Africa. आप ये ऐड कर सकते हो. India's Gini coefficient, okay, 0.33, which is not as high, okay, which is not as high as Africa, but it is still very high in terms of inequalities. Somebody, Hari says, 63 Indians hold wealth equal to the budget of India. Wow. लिख लो आप इसको, Oxfam का है. Oxfam says 63 individuals hold wealth equal to the budget of India. Perfectly. So beta, my intention is you should have all of this in 3-4 pages summarized. And then I'm telling you one by one how you will relate. Okay, how you will relate. Achha, one important point, World Bank says, I picked this up from Wikipedia. Okay, World Bank says that a sizable, लिख लो आप please, a sizable proportion of population was brought out of poverty. Sizable proportion of population was brought out of poverty because of since economic reforms, but they have a fragile life. This is an important point. See, you have this 32 rupees per day for urban poverty. I hope you know this number, okay? It's equivalent to PPP terms, में $1 approximately, whatever. Okay? So what I'm saying is, India has successfully brought a sizable proportion of people out of poverty, they're above poverty line, but they live a very fragile life. Fragile life as in, any small disruptor and these people will slip back into poverty. That's the reason why we say that the poverty elevation has not assured, okay, sustainable income growth. Yeah, COVID is, I mean, it's the killer now. I don't know how many of us realize it. This is a very nice phrase. I personally would like you to use this. That despite coming out of poverty, a sizable population live a very fragile life. Okay, so 30% of population around that, below poverty line, does not mean the other 60% are very well. Okay, most of them live a very fragile life. And beta, this fragile life is not just for the poorest of poor. This fragile life is also applicable for a good proportion of middle class population. For a good proportion of middle class population also. Yes, it's a type of the vicious cycle of poverty. Okay. Yes, absolutely. In fact, parts of India is worse than sub-Saharan Africa also. Is worse than sub-Saharan Africa also. Oscar, in terms of hunger, okay, it's worse than sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. So do you have enough content on poverty now? Yeah. So I have discussed the E of our theme. Okay. By the way, I should have told this to you earlier. Okay. Your course includes 4 things. Okay. 4 things may. One is understanding methods in essay writing. Okay. Discussion of topics. Okay. Discussion of themes. And finally, you also will have your tests. This is the scope of the essay module. Method of essay writing, I have started off. I have initiated discussion of some topics. Now I have entered some themes. The 6-7 important themes we have. Okay, so economy and poverty is one of the themes. Every year you have 1 to 2 topics on themes on these themes. Okay, and then from this, I'll go back to discussing some of the topics and apply some techniques to understand essay writing also. Okay, and plus we will have test. We have one test, okay, which will evaluate, and yeah, it is supposed to be test. Okay, so I hope you got the hang of this. Now I have discussed the E of economy. Okay, the basic facts. What are the prospects? What are some of the concerns? And very specifically, poverty and inequality. Now, around this, I will weave some other things. The individual aspects, discuss the national issues, discuss the global issues, which I've done partly under globalization, and then I will discuss some philosophies. Okay? Yes, Gini coefficient is much more higher in parts of Africa. Correct. India has islands of California in a sea of sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. Amartya Sen says this in his book Uncertain Glory. Okay, fine. Okay, I think we have done quite a bit today. Let's meet tomorrow again. Okay. Keep your notes handy. Summarize this. Go back to your room now. Your work will be to read all of this and refer to whatever you can. Summarize it. Okay. Summarize it. Make some jottings. Okay. Then we come back to how to use all of this in your essay. Okay. Oh yes, you are already in your room. Yes. Okay. Inertia of offline classes. Okay. So tomorrow's class. Now, beta Priyadarshi, I'm not able to give the schedule because yesterday the government announced June 5th wala. So I'll make the schedule for this month of May. I'll let you know. Okay, so give me one more day. I'll share that with you. Next class is tomorrow. Next class is tomorrow. Okay, yes, I'll do that. Okay, then bye-bye. Take care. Okay, catch you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I will continue with economy topics. Fine, bye-bye.